Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Realtor Safety Awareness with Retired Lieutenant Al Owens. I also want to remind everybody, don't forget to make your 2020 awards nomination. Do you know someone who deserves to be recognized for their hard work? Be sure to nominate them for our 2020 awards show. Nominations are being accepted through Wednesday, September the 30th. For more information regarding nominations, visit nsdcar.com. Also, this webinar is being recorded and you can view it at www.nsdcar.com/webinars. And now I'll turn the webinar over to Al Owens.
Good morning, everybody. This is a little different, huh? 2020 has been one heck of a year, I tell you. And I've never really done trainings so much online before. I'm used to having an audience in front of me, but I guess it's going to be the new, they say the new normal. I say if it's the new normal, it's not normal, but this is how we're going to be for a little while. I think some of you know me, but those of you that don't, I was a police officer for 21 years in the city of Escondido. I retired as a lieutenant. During that time, I've done about everything. You can see your screen there: patrol, crime suppression, gang enforcement. I don't know what I really haven't done at that police department, so I've done a lot. One of the biggest things, I was a self-defense instructor at the police department for 18 years and at the police academy for another 13 years. And I've continued to do that after I've retired. I was very big with the Police Athletic League, which the realtors have been very good with us. We work with at-risk kids in the community for gangs and drugs and everything else. And we try to set them on the right path so they lead a good, productive life. I taught numerous safety classes for children and adults. I quit counting after 3,000 people that I've taught. I was a nuclear security officer back in the day, and I was in the United States Marine Corps back a long time ago, 78. So that's basically my experience. Now in today's training, you're gonna see, some of you have seen me before, you're gonna see some of the videos that are gonna be the same, but I have a couple that are different. And the reason some of the videos are the same is I just haven't found anything better to replace those. We're going to start out talking about realities and myths of self-defense training, something to wake you up here and laugh a little bit. Some of you will recognize this guy.
Line up! Welcome to the first meeting of complete self-defense for women. I'm Bob Jackson. I have a black belt in karate. I've studied martial arts for over 20 years. I'm also a former world champion. Now, this course may cost more than others, but I guarantee you'll never be afraid of violence again. Now let me ask, what are you ladies most concerned about? Yes, you!
Okay, say you find out something about your husband, like he got another wife and some kids. Well, what I want to know is, how do you kill a man in his sleep?
Let me think about that one. Why don't we start, though, with defense against the knife attack? Who would like to attack me?
Oh, me. I got one in my purse.
Why don't you try?
This is a real knife.
Don't worry about it, grasshopper.
I don't know. I don't think I should.
It's okay. Come on!
Oh, my God, I'm really sorry. Oh, I didn't mean it. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I shifted my internal organs to avoid the knife. However, like a lot of beginning students, you attacked me wrong.
Oh.
You're supposed to come at me like this. Remember that and try it again.
Okay. Sort of a downward thing. All righty. Sorry.
You see, you're still bending your elbows. You've got to keep your arm completely straight.
Oh.
That's the whole key.
Oh, God. All right.
Try it one more time.
Straight. Okay. I got it. All right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah.
Are you crazy? It's our first day!
I just wanted to show her how easy it can be.
Yeah. Oh,
After 20 years.
this class is a ripoff. I want my money back.
Well, hopefully we won't have to pay you back. But one thing about that that video I just really like is there's so many things in there. Number one, no trainer can completely compare you for self-defense in one session. We can do a lot of things that make you safer. Granted, we're going to give you a lot of information that will make you safer. And fighting and attacks are not an exact science. You see when he attacks, he says, you attacked me wrong. I've actually gone to other self-defense courses and they tell the people that, no, you got to grab me like this. Well, a suspect is going to grab you the way a suspect grabs you. So you have to be able to react to anybody there. Never let a trainer tell you that their way is the only way. I won't tell you that either. I'll give you a lot of good information, but you might have another trainer who has a different view and that works for you. So again, that's basically what we're going to be talking about today, how to make you safer. Real estate dangers. It's hard to track how many realtors are injured or die in a year, or because they really don't keep those stats. So they're guessing it's anywhere between 50 to 58 per year, and thinking 20 to 25, possibly a homicide. But again, we can't verify that. But there's a lot of things that play into that. Realtors have been assault with deadly weapons, right? They've been robbed. Some realtors have been raped. Again, there's homicides. Another big one is accidents, though, traffic accidents with realtors. And a lot of times I know a lot of, and I have an office in a real estate office, even though I'm not a realtor. I do base my police athletic out of one, and I see how busy you always are. So you're always going, always moving, always going fast. And sometimes that plays into it. There's also falls too. Sometimes not familiar with the property and falls. So there's a lot of things that's some dangers for you out there. Again, now you deal with strangers, right? You don't know these people that you're showing a house to. We might think we know them sometimes. Oh, I know this person, I have a good vibe, but you really don't know. Then we're dealing with foreclosures where there's vacant properties. Sometimes you get squatters, and I know you've all dealt with those. Sometimes abandoned pets. Years ago, as a meter reader, and I remember sometimes getting attacked by abandoned pets. They leave their pets there, and anybody knows that any type of animal that you leave for a long time, they kind of go a little bit wild. So there's a lot of things there. And then you have the social media stalking, and we'll be talking about that in social media, about keeping yourself a little bit private, and then distractions. Like I say, I know some of the realtors, some of the better ones I'm really good friends with, but I'm always talking about they're doing so many things at once that they forget actually what they're doing in that moment, and that can be scary. And one thing I want to mention, if you have any questions at all, you just tab them in the chat section. I'll stop every now and then and ask Shirley if there's any questions. Okay, situational awareness, #1 self-defense tool. I talk about it all the time. Take time to pay attention to what's going around you, and you can avoid 95% of anything that's going to happen. There's always that 2% margin of error. No matter what you do, something's going to happen. But usually about 95% you can avoid, and also win. It's like I talked before. What's important now? And I always say, whenever I don't pay attention to what's important now is when I make a mistake. So if I'm driving my car and backing up, the most important thing is backing up, okay? I'm driving to a location. The most important thing is driving. It's not thinking about the next client, where I'm gonna go. It's about what I'm doing in that moment. Once I get to my place safely, and then I can go into the next thing. So what's important now? That came up, one of the football coaches, Lou Holtz from Notre Dame, came up with that with his players. Always pay attention to that. A big thing is avoiding confrontations too. I'm telling you, the best way not to lose a fight, don't get in one to begin with. Gavin DeBecker wrote The Gift of Fear. He talks about a sixth sense. A lot of people don't know who he is, but I've been to his academy as well. But his bodyguard for a lot of stars. Oprah Winfrey is the biggest one. But what he says is the body is always giving off cues. And some people think they have this premonition. Your gut will be telling you something. It's because your body's picking up cues. It's hot outside. The person's got a long sleeve jacket or long sleeve shirt on. Something's not right. They're talking to themselves. I was driving home last night after coaching a basketball practice. I see a guy on a street corner. He's just pounding and yelling. So this guy's under the influence of drugs, I could tell. And that's the thing you want to get away from, right? And call the authorities to handle that. Now I'll talk about mental prep. Mental prep is so big. If you're never mentally prepared, you might freeze. Law enforcement and military, they have to do it as well. I've seen both in an emergency situation freeze and not be able to move. And a lot of times it happens with some of our younger people. We hire younger and younger people all the time. I'm sure some of you have seen them. They're driving down the street. You say, man, is that guy even old enough to drive? How's he a police officer? So they look so young and they haven't had a lot of life experience. We're hiring some people now, and not that that's bad, but they've never been in a fight before. Some of them never played a sport before, never had physical contact before. So they have to mentally prepare when that happens, because it's tough when somebody pulls a gun on you or somebody punches you in the face for the first time. If you're not prepared, you can freeze. But I tell people, always imagine yourself in the worst situation in your life that you can be in. And then imagine yourself escaping with your life, fighting, using your improvised weapons that we'll talk about, poking. Do you need a pen to jab the person? Depending on the situation. If it's a very serious situation, you might have to take a pen to a vital part of the person's body to escape. It might be into the person's ear. It might be into the person's eyeball to escape. Again, those are serious, serious attacks. This isn't somebody who changed jobs at the last minute and now they can't qualify for the loan. We don't want to do that. Again, but know that in a fight, you're going to get hurt in a fight. People say, well, I could get punched in this fight. This could happen to me. Well, of course it could. You're in a fight. I've never been in any type of physical altercation where I haven't been injured myself. Okay, it just happens, and that's what it is. Even when I've come out on top, I've been injured. And not that I go around fighting a lot. Gee, since I've been a police officer, the only time I've ever been in a fight was actually as a police officer, because I learned how to walk away and communicate. You have to have attitude. One woman got attacked, and in her mind, this guy he's gonna rape her. He's gonna try to kill her. And she said, not today, MF, fill in the blank. I won't say it because I'm in a training environment. But she fought that guy, and she survived. 2 broken eye sockets, a broken nose, but she bit, she poked eyes, she did everything else, and she didn't get raped, and she didn't die. So you have to have that mental attitude. She absolutely had that mental attitude. I am going to take you on no matter what it takes. Now, if you're not mentally prepared, like I said, hey, you can freeze in a situation. I'm going to show you a video here of a person who freezes when he gets in a dangerous situation.
But
can I find this in Arlington?
Oh, good grief, yes.
Oh boy. Let's see how long it is. Let's hold it out.
This guy is probably close to 5 feet. Texas rat snakes are going to be one of the largest snakes that you find in the Metroplex area.
What the? Get this thing off me, man! Get this thing off me, man! God dang! What is this thing jumping at me for, man?
He likes you.
Yeah, I can tell, man. All right, let's try to get back under control. You didn't tell me the thing jumped. Well, God dang! Okay, let's try to get our composure here.
You're all right.
Yeah. So the Texas rat snake can be up to 5 feet long, huh?
That's right. Some of them can get.
And I don't know if you could see it, but on the left side, there was a large lizard that jumped on his jacket. So he wasn't actually in a dangerous situation, but his reaction, I've never seen a video better for panic in a situation like that. But imagine if you've never been hit in the face, you've never had anything happen to you, and then that does happen, and you haven't mentally prepared, you can freeze, and it happens a lot of times. Now, some people are naturals. They're going to come right out in this fight, but I haven't met too many naturals in my life. I don't even think I'm a natural. I had to train all these years to be able to do that type of stuff. Okay, Shirley, I'll pause for a second. Any questions at this point?
Yes, we do have a couple. What does shoes hanging over head wires mean in gang language?
Okay, the myth letter is not 100% factual, but a lot of times it means there's drugs that run in that neighborhood.
Okay. All right. And to Joyce, yes, you are on the right training session with NSDCAR. Okay, Al, back to you.
All right, great. Okay. Now, just some safety tips. First meeting of a client, if you can, in the office, all right? Get a copy of that ID. Again, I'm going to give you some of my tips. If you can do it, you can. If you can't, like I said, I'm not going to debate and argue with you. If you can't say I can't do it, then you don't do it. But I want you to be as safe as possible. I'm going to tell you some of the things that will make you safe. Let somebody know where you're at all times. That goes in any aspect of life. We do that at my house too. Our rule is a half hour late, you got to call somebody. And as a real estate agent, I would say that's even less time, right? If you're 10 minutes away from where you're supposed to be at, we want, especially if you're showing a property, we want somebody to know that something might not be right, or at least check in. Check in front of the client. What I mean that is, if you're going to go somewhere, if you're going to be at a house, showing a house, whatever it is, especially if you're by yourself or an open house, I would get on the phone and say, I have a client such and such with me. We're meeting right here. This should take about 20 minutes, and mention that right in front of the client. Knows this person talks to me, said my name, whatever it is, and somebody knows who I am. Familiarize yourself with the property before you show it. I know most of you do that, but I remember back in the days when I was looking for a house, a lot of times real estate agents would just meet me out of the blue, didn't know who I was, just meet me in the middle of nowhere and to show me a property. They didn't know anything about the property themselves. Keep the client in front of you. Trust your instinct, okay? Don't be scared to call police if you need to. And I know some of you have done that in the past. With some of these training sessions, you told me, yeah, I saw something here. It didn't look right. I called into the police, and sometimes it saved lives, or at least some serious injuries, because sometimes the people that are in there have had warrants and everything else for their arrest. One time I remember in particular, a real estate agent called. We went into the house. These guys had weapons and everything else inside the house. So it was a good thing that they had called. Know your escape routes. That's what I mean by knowing your property to begin with. If something happens, how can I get out of this house quickly and get somewhere to get some help? So know your escape routes. And that goes for anywhere that you're at ever. I check escape routes no matter where I go. Try not to disclose too much personal information online. What I mean by that is sometimes with the social media, we get into it, but sometimes we have our information on there, pictures of our family on there, a lot of things. And if there's somebody that's actually stalking you, that's not good, because they know what your kids look like, and now they're so good and everything else. A lot of times they can track you right to where you're at. So I try to keep my personal life, and so that's basically what I'm telling you. Social media. I know a lot of you do your work on social media. I get that, but I try to keep that personal information as much as I can off the social media where everybody can see it. Teamwork with open houses. Open houses can be dangerous. I'm going to show you a video clip here in a couple minutes here with an open house. I love people that work in teamwork with open houses because it can give you. All right, excuse me. I got this. I'm going to turn this thing off here. That's a problem of working from home sometimes, distractions. Okay, so teamwork, what I mean is that two people working there, because teamwork, I know open house can get boring too. You can get boring and your alertness can go down. So you want to make sure that you have somebody with you, or at least check in with somebody. Pay attention with open houses all the time. There have been a couple of realtors now had their purses stolen at open houses, and one, I love her, but I wanted to choke her because I told her so many times what to do. And she left her purse right out in the open, and they worked a team on her. Two of them came in, one went to one part of the house, another went to the other part of the house, and then they stole her purse with all her valuables in it. Again, keep valuables out of sight. Again, tell your clients, and I know most of you know this, hide valuable items and prescription drugs during open houses. Get ID when somebody comes to view an open house, if you can. Some of you said we can't do that. If you can't do that, that's fine. But I tell you what, the one woman who had her purse stolen, the same people came back again, probably 6 months later to the house she was at. And again, we couldn't prove it was them that stole it, but when she asked them for ID, they both immediately ran out to their cars and took off. So it probably was them, but unfortunately we couldn't prove it. Again, this is controversial, avoiding photos on business cards and all publications. I realize now that some realtors, a couple of them will take them off, but most of them have their photos on there, so I'm not going to argue that point with anybody. But just know that there was a couple of people that were killed, realtors, and I asked, why did you pick that one? Well, he saw her photo on a card, and he liked her. He said, well, she was pretty, and I thought she was rich. Why that would make you kill somebody? There's a lot of deranged minds out there. Who knows? But again, use that buddy system whenever you can. Now, people ask me a lot about mobile safety apps, and there's a lot of them out there. I won't promote one or the other, but if you go out and search those things, you can find them. Some of you probably already have them on your phones. There are a lot of apps where you can just hit a button and it will call 911. Some will give you a location to another, your significant other, whoever's watching out for you. There's a lot of them out there, so I say research those on your own, because there's a lot of them. I looked over, I said, wow, I can't recommend one over the other, and some of them look very, very good. Remember, clients are still acquaintances, they're not friends. It's just, that's how I put it. I know sometimes you say, once we sold the house, well, once you sold the house, you probably are friends, right? You got the nice commission, everything else, so you probably are. But in the beginning, sometimes we treat them like too close. And I'm a person who, I'm a very friendly person, but I keep people at bay a little bit until I know them. Always be aware of your surroundings. Don't let your guard down when you're alone with a client. Travel in your own vehicle and have your client do the same. There have been times, again, when I remember looking for a house and my real estate agent would take me out in the vehicle with her, and I'd be like, wow, this is kind of dangerous. And she was a very sweet lady, very, very tiny lady too, but I don't know, she just trusted me, she just wanted to sell the house, I don't know, but I'd be careful with that. Now, if I'm gonna have a client meet me, I'm gonna try also take a photo of the vehicle, including the license plate, and text that information to a partner. Again, you can do this indiscreetly. Don't sit up there ready so as soon as he pulls up and just hit it. But there's a way you can just come up there pulling up like you're taking a picture of the property, flash it over to them and get the license plate. And some of you are very good with taking photos anyway, kind of indiscreetly. Just take it and then text that info. If something does happen to you, we have a starting point. Who are we going to look to? Who was the last person they were with? It's going to help us out quite a bit. Okay, Shirley, I'll pause for a second. Questions at all at this point?
We're good, Al.
All right, okay. Communication. Communication is always key no matter what you do in life. Communication. I always say stay calm, don't raise your voice. I'm sure as real estate agents, you've been yelled at as well, right? All of us in our life have been yelled at, something has happened. And then I try not to go down to their level. I keep calm. A lot of times if somebody's yelling at me, I keep my even tone. Eventually, they'll match my tone. They'll match it. And if they start yelling again, I'll tell them, yeah, I want to help you, but when you're yelling at me, I can't understand you, but I'm really here to help you. And a lot of times that will take that right down to a level we can work with. If the person's impaired, and I know some of you have had to run into impaired persons at a house before. It doesn't happen often, but you're never going to win an argument with somebody who's impaired. It just doesn't happen. So don't even try to argue with them. Try to get yourself out of the situation. Do not insist on having a last word in any type of argument. I've seen the last word turned into shootings and homicides as a police officer. Look for danger cues of escalation. And what I mean by that is the balling of the fist. What I call 1,000-yard stare. They're just looking right through you, right? And so, yeah, be careful of that. When you see that, that's time to back that thing off and maybe start looking for my escape routes and get out of the situation. Another thing is to listen. A lot of times when people are complaining and yelling, sometimes I listen, I won't do anything. And then they'll thank me at the end for doing something for them. Sometimes I haven't done a thing. So I've done it several times where people, especially as a law enforcement officer, people yell and yell and yell. Thank you so much. And to this day, I didn't know what they're talking about, but I just listened to them. Another thing I've always learned in life too is in any type of thing, don't be stubborn or afraid to say you're sorry. All right. And sometimes I'll say I'm sorry even when I feel that I'm right, right? When I feel that I'm right, and sometimes I know that I'm right, but sometimes I say, I'm sorry you feel that way. But it's better that I say my peace is worth more than me being right a lot of times. All right, if you're physically attacked, here's where I'm scream, I want you to make noise. Noise is your best, one of your best weapons. It brings people around to you and they know what's going on. And I'm a warrior. I don't care what size you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care whatever your age is. We're going to be a warrior. We're going to fight back if we get attacked, because that's how we're going to survive that situation. Somebody call 911 if there's an emergency. A lot of times during emergencies, people forget to call 911. They'll get themselves to safety. Then did you call anybody? No. Well, if they attack you, there's probably a chance they're going to attack somebody else. We want to get that report out there, especially if you did one of these self-defense techniques where you really had to injure somebody. Say if you had to poke an eye, say you had to put a pin in somebody's ear. We want you to call 911 first, so they don't sit there and say that somebody just attacked them for no reason at all, because criminals do all kinds of weird things. I've had a lot of experience with them. Again, that mindset, have a plan. Tell yourself, I'm not going to panic. No matter what the situation is, I'm not going to panic. Be confident, but not overconfident. There's a lot of times where people, they have that confidence walking up, but I tell you what, I never underestimate anybody. Never underestimate anybody. You could be looking at somebody and say, I could beat this person 10 ways from, just any way that I think. And then next thing you know, they're a mixed martial arts fighter and you don't know it and you get surprised. Or they have a weapon. So I never want anybody to be overconfident, but I do want you to walk with confidence. Sometimes walking upright, looking around you, looking around what's going on around your environment, that's enough to keep an attacker away. Attackers are consistent. They usually go for people that aren't paying attention and what's going on around them. Good news, most people don't attack complete strangers, although it does happen. I'm getting ready to do self-defense with a young lady, a teenager, who was getting ready to go to work at the Jack in the Box over at Mission and Quince, and some guy just attacked her as she was walking in the door for no reason at all. No reason at all. Pretty brutal attack. Lucky for her, a police officer happened to be driving by right at the same time, and he was there within 20 seconds, so he stopped the attack. But she's emotionally scarred right now, so we're going to be doing some training with her. As soon as possible, escape. I'm a big person on running. I don't care. And I've had a lot of training. And I'm not a small guy. I'm about 225 pounds. But you know what? I'd rather not fight. I'd rather live to go another day. Even though I'm big and everything, and I had a lot of training. I'm getting older too, so I know my limitations. Okay, I'm going to show you a real estate agent here who gets attacked in an open house, and let's see what she did well and some things she could have done better.
The real estate agent attacked during an open house in Encino, California, screaming for her life, the suspect posing as a potential buyer at first. Here's ABC's Clayton Sendell now.
The attack in broad daylight. A man showing up to an open house in Encino, California, violently shoving a real estate agent to the ground, allegedly groping her, then running away. The agent, who asked us to hide her identity, says the suspect got agitated when she wouldn't go inside with him.
Go, you saw the house, you're done, that's it.
She also says she'd seen the man here a week earlier and that he made her nervous. So on Sunday, she had a friend come with her, but that friend left just before this attack.
I was so lucky. I had a feeling from day one that this person can hurt me.
A security camera captured the man's face. Now the cops want to capture him. The realtor suffered scrapes and bruises. That suspect is still out there, and detectives say they need the public's help to find him. David?
All right, Clayton Sendell, thanks.
Hi, everyone. George.
Okay, one thing I like about live classes, I could get your feedback and everything else is in there, so I'm going to have to give you some of the information, just talk about it since it's a webinar. One of the things, at least she had recognized the guy before, and she was nervous. All right, and she was nervous about it and had a friend come. Well, I would have bought that friend an extra coffee or a bottle of wine or something to stay with me the whole time. So very, very tricky. She did a couple of things that were well, though. She knew not to go back inside the house. I have a feeling he would have sexually assaulted her, maybe killed her inside the house. Who knows what was in his mind. But obviously, he targeted her for some reason. I imagine that guy might even targeted and saw the friend in there and waited for that friend to leave. You just don't know what's going on in their minds. One thing she did very, very well is she screamed. And those screams bring attention. And you saw what happened when she started screaming and kicking and everything else. The suspect ran away. So I'll give her an A+ on that, making noise. And I tell noise is your best friend when you're being attacked. Mentally ill. 1 in 5 people have a mental illness. That's just how it is in life, right? Most are not violent, though. If you do get one that comes in, you want to call for assistance if you have somebody there with you, and their help if the subject does get violent. Again, most times they're not violent, but I give myself a little distance. I back up a little bit. It gives me what I call a reactionary gap. So if they were to do something, is there an improvised weapon that I can get between me or him? Is there a chair that I can put between me and him or her to get away? A lot of times I'll say him because most attackers are males, but females attack as well. But I keep that arm's distance. If there's a pen or something out or a pencil, I get it out of the way. All right. And I watch the person's hands. We always say the hands are what can kill you or injure you. Now feet can do it as well. We got a martial artist kicking around, but most trained martial artists do not fight people out on the street. They usually don't. Occasionally they do, but usually they don't. Be firm and polite with somebody who's got a mental illness, but don't let them dominate your time. They'll keep you there forever. and don't feed into delusions. All right, if they say they see something over there, don't agree that you see it as well. There's a possibility every time they have that same delusion, they can come back to you wherever you're at. And also, it's just one of those things. Some people have mental illness, know they have a mental illness. I never fed into delusions. I would say, I have no doubt that you see it, but I'm telling you right now, I don't see it. But now as a police officer, I'd ask more questions, but as a civilian, I would say, I really got to go. We've had people with mental illness walk into the real estate office over at the brush office before. And then one of them came in talking about, I'm looking for my $1 million going all over. And I just walked up to him politely. And I said, you know what? Well, we don't have your $1 million here. So I don't know where it is, but I said, I tell you what, we're getting ready to close right now. You getting ready to close? Yeah, we're getting ready to close the office. So I'm going to need you to leave. And he left. But then he tried to tell me about something about Valley Center. So that's a good story. But again, I got to close down. I got to go to another appointment. So we just closed down the office, locked it up till he left the area. And then we called the police just to look for him because we knew he was 5150, but it's a non-emergency call, right? He's just 5150 is a code for mental illness. Again, be ready to run if you have to. Be ready to run if we can, right? A lot of times people say, what if I have high heels on? Well, if you really need to run, take the high heels off and get out of there. People under the influence, can't reason with them. Don't go down to their level. Again, we talked about that. We have a methamphetamine problem in the nation, actually, right? And fentanyl, we're mixing fentanyl in with it. Why people do that, I don't know, because it's fatal. But we have all these problems. Mentally, a lot of times the methamphetamine, rapid speech, dilated, and like the mentally ill, they can be unpredictable. And like I told you last night, that guy I saw last night, definitely methamphetamine, and then we have, you got heroin's a big spike again. So the big thing with heroin is usually they're falling asleep. They're usually not too dangerous, except for the needles and stuff that they carry. Dilated pupils a lot of times, especially with methamphetamine, delusions, paranoia. And then we have alcohol intoxication, odor, slurred speech, stumbling. A lot of things that are out there that impair people. And unfortunately, a lot of people under the influence also have mental. So we have mental problems, mental issues. So we got two things going to make things dangerous for you. All right, contacting police in any emergency situation. If it's a crime in progress, dial 911. If you're on your cell phone, one of the first things I want to do is give my location, because if the phone gets disconnected for whatever reason, with a cell phone, we'll get a tower and we'll get a general area. But if you give us a location, say I'm at Broadway in Washington, and this is what's going on, then if something happens, at least we know, let's get officers to Broadway in Washington. Something's going on there. Apple cell phones, there is a SOS you can do on your Apple cell phones. You click, I've done it before, you click 3 times and you can just hit and it calls 911 automatically. And we've hit it by mistake before, messing around with it. It'll come up SOS and it'll go right to dispatch. Dispatch is going to ask you a lot of questions. And the reason we're going to ask you a lot of questions is they want to, number one, calm you down as much as you can and give us the best information we need to respond to any type of situation. Be a great witness, but I want you to get out of the area, especially if it's dangerous. Get out of the area quickly, especially when police arrive on scene. A lot of times people want to watch. They want a video. They want to do a lot of things. Okay, I had no problem when I was an officer, somebody videotaped me. I had no, because I did the right things when I was working. The problem I had, though, is when, if there's a dangerous situation and you're behind me with a camera. In one instance, I remember it clearly, the guy had a gun. And so I got my gun, he's got his gun. Fortunately, nobody got shot, but the guy behind me, I told him, if this guy starts shooting, there's a good chance you're gonna get shot. And the guy said, yep. And I didn't think about that, and then he left the area. So we want you to get out of there, all right? Remember 3 words, any dangerous situation, I don't care where you're at, the less time you're around it, the less chance something bad's gonna happen to you. The further away you get, the safer you are. And if you have shielding, don't leave it, right? I'll give an example. Say if I'm at the real estate office and I see somebody outside who's going a little bit, say, having a little bit mental episode or drugs or whatever, I'm going to lock the door and I'm not going to leave that area to try to escape. I'm going to stay in that area of shielding. If you're at your house, you hear a noise outside, don't go out in the middle of the night to check it. You have people to do that all the time, and there's problems when that happens. The only time I leave my shielding, if the attacker or the suspect got in my area of safety, now I'm going to leave my area of shielding to get away and make distance, if that makes sense. Shirley, how are we doing on questions? We good?
We do have One question, would it help to post a sign that open house visitors are being recorded?
Good idea. Actually, that would work, because a lot of times that's, yeah, I think that would work. Would it work 100% of the time? Maybe not, but that's a good idea. You know, yeah. Whoever came up with that idea, give them a star.
Also, I think this is related to the shoes hanging from the telephone wires. Does law enforcement typically just ignore this, or do they investigate?
They're probably already investigating in the area. They know if drugs are in the area or not. And then we got to realize sometimes when they throw the shoes over, kids know what that means. So sometimes you just throw them up and it absolutely means nothing. So, but a lot of times the drugs that they're pretty much heavy on it already. But like you say, you got to be careful. You know, we have those wannabe kids that are out there. They just want to do something. So sometimes it means absolutely nothing.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Okay, walk into your vehicle. For men, I always say carry a throwaway wallet if you can. Just a wallet that's got maybe like 20 bucks in there, maybe a couple business cards or whatever. And I have my ID and everything else is somewhere else. So if I do get robbed or whatever, they get that, and then that's it, and I'm happy. Now females a little bit disadvantaged because you got your purse and everything else with you, but try not to keep everything in the same spot. So if you do get something does happen, you don't lose everything all at once, especially if you're well, you don't want to lose everything all at once because it's just a pain. You got to do so much work with your credit cards, your ID, all that different type of stuff is there. If you're attacked, again, make noise, be a warrior. Look at cars parked next to you when you're walking out to your car, especially driver's side, especially on your driver's side or a van. We don't want you to get dragged in. It does not happen often. In my whole career, I think it's happened twice, but that's too many times for me if somebody gets dragged into a van. Be careful sometimes of people that will drive up to you and ask you a question as well, and I say it real soft. And what you do is being polite is go over, I didn't hear you, and walk closer to the vehicle, and you get snatched in. That has happened, I think, twice in my career as well. Again, not a lot, but too many. Buddy system at night, give an escort to your vehicle. I know some of the, I don't know if you show open houses at night. Typically you don't, but a lot of times it's getting darker earlier. You're going to have to show some houses at night. Get some type of buddy system that you have there. Again, check in front of somebody. If you got all the client's ID and everything else, then you can take it accordingly. I can't tell you exactly what to do. I just want you to be safe in everything that you do. I'll just tell you what this is. I look at this. I walk through parking lots and I find all this stuff in vehicles all the time. I even found social security number. I find all kinds of stuff. And so I want to say, don't make your vehicle a target-rich environment. If it's there, somebody will steal it. And I know a lot of times as real estate agents too, you work a lot out of your cars. I get that. Try to put stuff in your trunk. Try to put it in there before you move. But it amazes me how much stuff I see right out in the open. The reason I say food here, they say, well, what does food have to do with anything? Well, you get a guy who hasn't eaten for about 5 days, and then he sees your food on a sandwich, and he's going to break your window and take it. That's going to cost you money to get it fixed. So just be careful what you leave out in the open in your vehicle. Investments, now most people have alarms on their vehicles, so that's almost a given. Club, yeah, well, I had a club in my vehicle once without an alarm, and my vehicle got stolen, so I stick with the alarm. Can they still steal your car? Absolutely. But are they going to go for the easier target first? If yours got an alarm, the other one doesn't, they're going to go for the one that doesn't have the alarm. And usually, but crooks are getting so good at stealing stuff now. They clone things, they clone alarms, they do all kinds of different things. So, but just be careful. For the most part, though, if you got a nice alarm system on, your chances are pretty good that your car won't be stolen, especially if it's a newer model. Avoid patterns. What I mean, but in your everyday life as well. Don't drive the same way every time. Don't work out the same way every time. They say if there is somebody stalking you, they're going to know your patterns. Okay, this person jogs at 6:15 every night. This is where they're at this point. This is where they're at that point. This person drives to work. They come this way every single day. Mix it up a little bit. Again, we already talked about telling somebody where you're at. That should happen all the time. I want somebody to know where I'm at. With limits, I'm going to give the person what they want. You know, they want money, whatever. They got a weapon. I'm going to give them the money. But I don't want to get too close to a stranger's vehicle. We talked about that. Never, ever get in a stranger's vehicle or let them take you to a secondary location. The chance of us finding you are very, very slim. I could probably name 5 to 6 cases where we've gotten the people back after they've been taken to a secondary location. We can name hundreds where they haven't come back. They've been dead or they've never been located again. If you don't believe me, just watch one of these Discovery channels and see all the people. I was watching one this morning where disappeared. They have no idea where the person went. I'm not saying they got in a secondary location. I don't know. But there have been several people that have been taken to secondary locations, and it's bad when they get there. Nothing good happens out of that. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in today's society. I tell you, we got a little bit of everything, right? We have COVID, right? We have COVID, the mental stress and desperation. Our lives are disrupted like they've never been disrupted before. And it's like almost like people that you used to handshake with, hug, go out to dinner, all these different type of things. We're not doing that. And people are home. When people are home for a long period of time, now we have boredom. And I'll tell you how that works with a lot of younger people and some criminals as well. They start thinking of ideas on things that they can do. Right now, San Francisco, anybody's from San Francisco, they say they have a new crime right now, and it's a new job. The new job is burglary. Burglaries are up tremendously, well over 100%. And the problem is, as I say, people are home, people aren't doing things, people aren't traveling. There's a lot of things that change our lives, and that's how we get some of our relief. So you got to find some way to get your stress out. And then even a lot of gyms aren't open. I mean, that destroyed me when the gym wasn't open. So I had to set something up in my garage and work out. Gyms are open again, but for how long? We could get closed down again next week. We don't know. I was talking to Shirley, right? She says she hasn't been in the office since March, right? And I was down for like 14 or 15 weeks before I went out to do anything. So there's a lot of stress that goes with that because that's not how we live as Americans. So just be aware that COVID just changed a lot of different things. Masks, they're great for preventing disease, horrible for preventing crime. What does the mask do? I've had people who walked up to me I don't even know, or excuse me, people I know, I don't recognize them with their mask on. And whoever thought we'd have a bank where you say, you have to wear a mask to come inside this bank? Ooh, that sounds almost crazy, right? I was recently just in New York. I was able to travel and get out to New York, but I had to go see family. When I was there, they have a mask, but your ID has to be in your hand when you walk in the bank. They've had a couple bank robberies, and the masks, again, help. It's hard to identify people. Now we have civil disturbance, civil unrest right now, right? Society has changed a lot, right? The biggest thing I've seen right now, and right before we came on here, I was looking for what's going to happen in the Breonna Taylor case, where they're going to charge these guys or not, and they're expecting more riots. But anyway, I've never seen it where we can't have a difference of opinions. And right now, I have people that don't talk to me now because we have a difference of opinion. And it's like, wow, I never thought of that. And I said, well, you're still my friend. I will never attack you as a person for your ideas, because your ideas don't have to be like mine. But right now, we're getting to that point in our society. If you don't think like me, then you're wrong. And I never believed that my whole life. But there's a lot of people that are doing that now. And people right now are reacting on emotions and not facts. All right. I'm not going to get into all the police stuff because I was a police officer, so I admit that I'm a little biased on some of this stuff. But there have been some horrible things done by some police officers, and I won't take that back. Nobody hates a bad cop worse than a good cop does. Good cops hate bad cops. Some of the guys in Minnesota, I just want to go through the screen and just choke those guys out. All right, but not every police officer is bad, and we're getting that thing. There's kind of a war on police right now. Everybody knows about the police officers who were shot in LA. And there's other ones that aren't even getting reported. There's police officers getting shot all over the place right now. And so it's people are violent. They're in their own mindset right now. So it's kind of a war on the way that we do things. And again, that's my opinion based on everything because I go on, again, I'm a person who goes on facts, not emotions. So I'm looking at all the different things that are happening, and it worries me now. It actually worries me, some of the violence that's out there. And in that case, like I said, don't drive up onto a large mass of people in the street. In Atlanta, that happened. Somebody drove up on a large mass of people. They went to turn around, shots rang out, and a little girl was killed inside the car. And that was very, very sad. And it's one of those things, you see that large mass of people, you want to stop your car long before you get up on it. And then you want to turn around and go away because sometimes they are attacking people. Now, are the vast majority of the people that are doing some of the protests peaceful? I would say yes. But there's also a large number that aren't peaceful. And I'm always going to go on the side of caution myself. If I see that large mass, I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn around because I don't want a confrontation. Could be the most peaceful people in the world. I don't know. But when you get to my age, though, you're usually in bed by 9:30 at the latest, and usually home when it gets dark. So I really don't have any problems with that, because usually at night is when all the bad things happen. So again, I'm not against protest. I'm not telling you to think one way or the other. I'm telling you to be careful, because right now we have a lot of unrest in our society. Sure, we doing questions? We good?
I think we haven't, as a realtor, can we get a permit to carry a gun?
Very good question. And right now, believe it or not, they have been they've been issuing permits. They have been, and so you probably have a pretty good chance. I know it goes through the county, but they've been issuing permits now. A lot of times you have to explain why the safety is, but I could probably explain that pretty well, especially realtors. Of course, you have male and female realtors. So sometimes females that can say, hey, I'm a female. I do open houses by myself. There have been attacks on realtors, so I'm really just doing this for my safety. And a lot they are issuing permits right now, surprisingly, but they are. A lot of times, especially in California, they don't like to, but recently they have been issuing them. So I would say you give it a shot. You have to go through the county to get the permit. And if you do get a weapon, make sure you train with it and know what you're doing, and know how to shoot, know when and when not to. There's a lot of things to go with it, so just don't get a weapon without all that training. But yes, they have been issuing permits.
How about mace instead?
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's going to be OC instead of mace. OC is good, and like you said, we're gonna. I think I might have this in the slide later, but with OC, just make sure again you know how to use it. You practice with it, and I always say with OC, get a take a bite of the dog. That's a police term for saying expose yourself to it just a little bit. I don't want you to spray yourself in the face, but just in case you don't want the first time you're exposing pepper spray is when it hits you in the face, because it can cause definitely a panic, because it closes everything up, your eyes, your nose, everything. So what you want to do is you may put some on a Q-tip and just run it by your nose, whatever it is, so you get it. Okay, this is how it would happen if it's sprayed on me. Because sometimes you can spray it, it can bounce off the person, hit you. As long as you know that choking sensation, you're not going to die from it, and you can still run, you can still get away. But I do like pepper spray. I like it. Just beware it's not buried in the bottom of your purse or your briefcase, and you can't get to it.
Okay, and another is sort of just a statement, and I guess if make sure you have your keys in your hand and your alarm ready. I guess if you walk into your car at night.
Yeah, always have keys in your hand, because keys can be a weapon as well. Keys and alarm ready to go, so you can go in there and just poke a person if you have to in the eyes and the face with the keys. And you can get in there quickly, right? You don't want to be digging for your keys when you have to go somewhere, right? It's just one of those things. And if you walk out somewhere, it doesn't look safe, go back into a place of safety. So yes, good, keys in the hand.
Okay, and then there's a sort of a real long statement question, but the gist of it is that realtors are people pleasers. And so I guess sometimes they kind of go out of their way, but if things are not looking right, you need to make sure that you see, get away from me, I'm calling the police, and not be afraid to do that just because you're a realtor.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of times you're in the people profession, you do that. And just like that one lady we showed the video on, right? She said, something didn't feel right. I wasn't going inside. But yeah, same thing. Doesn't feel right. It's usually not right. You got to trust that gut instinct and get out of there, right? You gotta feel right. You know, something's got to give. But yeah, good statement. I agree with that 100%. Sometimes you have to be rude. I teach kids that too. If you feel danger, it's okay to be rude. We want our kids to be polite. I get that. But I say it's okay to be rude. Now, if we come back, I tell kids later, if we find out later that was a long aunt you haven't seen in 20 years, you can apologize to her. Your aunt's still going to love you. That's not going to be a problem. But yeah, if you feel danger, get rude, get nasty, right? Tell them you're going to call the police. And then if you need to, call them, right? A lot of times people hesitate to call us, but you want to call us.
Okay, that's it.
All right, very good, very good. All right, physical, okay. Can we outrun the bad guy? I can barely run anymore. I got bad knees, right? but I still do what I can. I still spar a little bit. You know, I don't. Well, actually, I shouldn't say spar. I should just say shadow boxing and hitting all these things. So I try to keep myself in the best shape that I can. Am I what I used to be? Absolutely not. All right, and I think that happens to all of us. Strength, flexibility, and endurance. Work on it a little bit. Sports, wrestling. I don't think we're going to start wrestling at this point in our lives. I've done it before. Martial arts, great as well. All these things take practice. But in avoiding the situation and awareness is like number one. Boy, if you're just aware of what's going on around you, I tell you what, criminals pick that up too. They know a person who's aware, and they know a person who's assertive, right? We've had even young kids stop attacks by just standing up and say, "You leave me alone, you stop," you know, and that's enough to say, this is a person who's not going to be a victim. They're not going to be a victim. But I tell you, criminals pick up on that all the time. When I ask them who they attacked and why they attacked them, it's a person that's not paying attention. Now, we talked about this. Situation awareness, it's free, right? Then we talked about pepper spray, talked about that a little bit. Tasers are legal. They're expensive, but they're legal. If you want the law enforcement type model, it's about $1,000. Each cartridge is about $35. If you want a civilian model, it's about $350. Very effective as well. The cartridge is still about $35. Expensive. People say, wow, why would I go through that expense? I always say, how much is your life worth? I would spend that in a minute. I got all kinds of stuff here. I got tasers, everything else. Of course, I was a police officer before, so I'm legally I can carry handguns, a lot of things. And then we can't do self-defense stuff today. I know usually we have a 2-hour class. I get you up on your feet, showing you palm, heel strikes, elbows, knees, but you have those all the time. You usually have a pen on you all the time. You usually have these different type of things. You have your head, kicking, teeth, whatever you have to do to survive that situation we want you to do. I love having little flashlights where I can flash that in the person's eyes. And a lot of time that flashlights have these edges on you can use with your hammer fist and stuff to get that person away. Hammer fist is easy. If you just make a fist, I can't see you, but if you just make a fist right now and come straight down on your countertop, whatever, that's the hammer fist motion. Walking poles, unless you're walking, you're not going to have a walking pole, but it's a good self-defense technique as well. Magazines, sometimes I'll roll magazines up and they're like a rock when I hit something, if I have to hit something. Unfortunately, I do all this stuff and I haven't had to use it. Dumbbells, right? Light dumbbells, and wasp spray is actually good, but as a realtor, you're going to be carrying wasp spray, and I doubt it. Pepper spray would be more effective in that aspect because it's smaller, you can conceal it, but wasp spray goes a long distance. I have it in my house set up if I had to use it, if somebody were coming to my house. Remember, be aware, not paranoid, because a lot of it, most people are good, but sometimes we can start thinking about self-defense, and then somebody says one thing, and we go paranoid. I'll show you the video of this lady here.
Hey, can you tell me? Oh my God!
Right, we never want to be that person. I always say, always trust your first gut instincts. If you generally feel in your heart and soul that something's wrong, it usually is. And I want to go back to keeping your hands as free as possible. I know you carry a lot of paperwork and all these different type of things, but if you're attacked, the paperwork is something you don't need. All right, it's something you can drop, so you can use it to use your hands to defend yourself. A lot of times I say, if you don't need it, you can throw those papers right in their face. I used to practice that myself, where we used to do field interrogations out in the field. If somebody attacked me, I would have my first thing I would do is I throw my paperwork right in the person's face. It distracted them and gave me an up to be able to take care of the situation and get the upper hand. Just that distraction is enough to mess up their OODA. Remember, terms before I say OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. It's a SWAT term. You don't need to remember it. The easiest thing to remember is I have to disrupt the person's thoughts. So his thoughts are to attack me. I throw those papers into his face. It takes away his thought, and then I go to whatever my next thing is. Either it's going to be run, or it's going to be attack. It's going to be whatever I have to do. It's a poke with the keys, a poke with a pen. Then I'm going to get away. But the biggest thing I want you to leave here is I have to pay attention to what's going on around me. And if I do that, most times it's going to be okay. But if that doesn't have something happen like that 2%, I can survive this situation. I want you to mentally think about some of this stuff. Work. Sure, I'm gonna send you my website. I have a website that's there and with different type of things, and it's free. You just go on there and go through trainings and videos. But it's owenstrainingandconsulting.com, and it's all on there. So that's, yeah, I think that might be, unless we got some more. Shirley, any more questions? We're right at an hour. Any more questions at all?
No more questions.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody here. We said the training would be an hour because usually it's 2 hours, but I know webinars is hard to listen to anybody for any length of time. But I do appreciate your time, and I wish you the best. I hear real estate agents are doing very, very well with properties right now. So I'm very happy that your profession is doing well. But if anything comes up, there's a question you don't have, get it to Shirley. I'll get back to you on that, and you have a safe day.